I'd probably say it was high school was when I discovered craft beer. Just had this idea, wow, I want to open my own brewery. I did all this discovery of all these beers. I'm like, fuck, nobody's brewing all the stuff I want to drink. I have to brew it myself. Sugar House is that's my dream, is to have a brew pub and Sugar House, but I didn't think that was ever going to happen. Yeah. If we wanted the bar license, we had 6 weeks to open it. Because here in Utah, we all need each other. We all need all the breweries.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Small Lake City Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Nilsson, and this week's guest is someone that I've been really excited to talk about. His name is Chad Hopkins, and in case you recognize the last name, then you probably know that he's the founder of Hopkins Brewing. Now, Hopkins Brewing is one of my favorite breweries to go to for a few reasons. 1, great beer. 2, great food menu. And 3, great programming. We talk about how Chad grew up around the corner from where Hopkins is today, his passion for food and beverage and the energy of working in restaurants, where he got his passion for brewing beer, starting to brew his own, and then taking the leap to truly start his own brewery thanks to some help from his friends. But let's jump into it. It's a great conversation with me and Chad that you're going to enjoy. It was fun because we actually recorded right in the brewery itself. So enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side.
The theater and everything was built over there. Where the Barnes and Noble, there were little local shops all around there. And it was just a big, wide open parking lot. And so we used to skate there. That was our hangout. We'd go skate. And then over here you had Branch Records where Whole Foods is. Mm-hmm. But you had another record shop over here, a hip hop shop, a skate shop. You had all sorts of small businesses all around here. Yeah. And then when the Olympics came here and Barnes & Noble's built, it just kind of kicked out a lot of the locals, and it got really corporate, and it just Sugar House lost its feel for a minute there.
I agree.
And, I'm so grateful to be in here. I feel like I've kind of taken back the local, and more local businesses are popping up around here, and it's great. It's that's what Sugar House is built on. We need to keep it local.
Exactly. And I love that it's kind of become this blueprint because when you think about Salt Lake and its development, Sugar House was kind of the first spot where it's okay, cool, we're going to actually develop this. We're going to bring in a lot of new opportunities, not all good ones, not all bad ones. But then we've kind of seen how Central Ninth is starting to get developed, and the Post District and all these other places that I feel like the things that happened here are being learned on. Central Ninth, it's all local places. Oh, yeah. And some of those badass businesses in Salt Lake. And the same with, Post Districts. I can't think of a completely corporate thing in there, and they've done really good about curating that. So I'm glad that we've gone from all right, listen, we don't need this anymore, but I know what we do need, and it's more these local people that actually care about where they're at.
Oh yeah, I think the Olympics brought a big wave of corporate businesses here. Totally, that are now starting to go away.
Not mad about it. I'll always support local people. So you're born and raised in Sugar House. You're, used to seeing all the local businesses skateboarding around here. Especially the what I call the Shopko parking lot, even though Shopko's obviously not there anymore.
Oh yeah.
My last memory of it was, so in the early 2010s, I found out about this app that people were doing to make a bunch of money whenever they wanted to. And I was like, well, that sounds like a great idea. So I applied to become a Lyft driver.
Nice.
And so I was one of the first ones here. And then I got invited to they used to have this thing called the mentor program where anybody who's been a driver for a while has a really good rating. They'll be like, hey, you're going to kind of be the last line of defense. You'll meet with people, answer questions, go on a drive with them. And if it's the vibes are off, Caesar thumbs down. And if there's everything's fine, then good to go. So I would just line them up there, wait in Shopko and just do them over and over again. And essentially I only have to work for 4 hours a week and then go back to school. So that I spent a lot of time in that parking lot, just sitting there. And I'm sure there's someone who's is this guy selling drugs? Yeah. But nope, just getting people rideshare drivers. But so born and raised in here, very local to, both Sugar House and 9th and 9th area. But I know that so much of your career and history is based on, restaurant, hospitality, food and bev. When did that story all start, or where did the journey begin?
My first job in restaurants was the Einstein's on 15th and 15th.
Heck yeah.
So, started there in 98, I think. So
that's when I look at them how are you still here? I wouldn't mind if it was something else, because again, the local stuff and just that area. But yeah, so it starts with Einstein's.
Yeah. And it's, back then Salt Lake was just kind of a weird place. And it just this area was just kind of outcast. Sugar House was a shithole in the 80s and 90s. And, people are like, oh, you live in Sugar House. Oh, it's kind of rough. And I'm like, whatever.
It's still it's still what I know in my home. Yeah, it's like what do you think? But I like it.
Like, I wouldn't, as a kid, like, if I left my skateboard out front, it'd be gone. Like, I live in Sandy now. Like, you leave your bikes out. You leave anything out there. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, someone will probably put it in your garage for you.
Yeah. So it's a lot different. So, and it's still, it's still kind of the city here, So, but yeah, so I worked at Einstein's for a bit and really liked the energy of restaurants because you're not going to be bored. There's always something to do. So you're always on your feet, moving around, and I liked that a lot. So I did shortly after that, I went to the military for a little bit. Didn't really love it, but
I get dubious of people who are like, I love the side tangent. I was golfing with this guy once at Bonneville, and I was playing alone, and all of a sudden, this guy almost like pops out of the woods, walking his car. He's like, "Hey, you got room for one more?" I was like, "Nice, well, yeah." And this guy was probably the weirdest person I've ever golfed with on a golf course. And so he goes on to be like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I work in tech and do this." And he's like, "Oh," I'm like, "What did you do?" He's like, "I'm a retired pilot." I'm like, "Oh, cool, sweet." He's like, "I was at Nam," and I was like, "Oh, I mean, that must have been tough." He's like, "Yeah, unless you like killing people." And I was like, okay, like, and then he goes on to be like, "Yeah, but then I ended up getting 2 women pregnant there and then found out both of them within the last years. Don't care for one of them, but the other one's pretty nice." And I was like, I was like, you are someone I don't necessarily know if I want to be like alone in the middle of a golf course in the middle of nowhere. But in your military, were you mostly domestic, or did you get to travel anywhere fun?
No, I just did the reserves and just stayed here. Kind of more pressure from my parents.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And I'm like, this is not my thing. So,
which is good because you have an experience. You're like, oh, I like this energy. I like doing this. And then being like, not that. Let's continue to refine what we want to do. So you do the reserves, and then I assume you go back to some sort of food and bev hospitality.
Yeah, I mean, came back here and, actually went back to Einstein's, worked at a different one for a little bit, and then just started working bunch of chains around here.
Cool.
Helped open like all the Noodles and Company and Payways and just all these like fast casual chains. Actually helped open the Noodles over here.
Yeah.
So and I worked at the Payway that used to be here. That's now, I don't even know it's over there anymore. I think it's like a dentist office.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of funny because when that restaurant, we'll side tangent on that. When I had a great team over there. That was years ago I worked there, but they were closing down as I was opening. So some of my old cooks were walking over here and they're like, "Hey, you're opening your own business?" Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, it was perfect." So got a couple of my old cooks that worked for me at Payway forever ago.
I went to that Payway a lot. Like, that was one of my mom's favorite, like, because my mom was a pediatrician before she retired. It's like, didn't have a ton of time. So I recognized my own ADHD hyperfixations in her old behavior. And one of them was like meals that we would eat. Like, she would go, she got this like ricotta and cheese from Costco multiple times a week for like a month or two, and then we wouldn't have it again. And then like it would be all of these just like deep dives. And there was one where she was like, "Yeah, Payway, send me your order." I'm picking it up. We're going to Payway. I was like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I love a good, what I call like a sugary fried chicken and rice. But always a classic. But that's fun that you could be like, "Hey guys, like just walk up here half a block and come cook over here."
Yeah, it was interesting doing the corporate thing for a while. I just didn't really love that either. I loved the restaurant thing, but didn't like the corporate thing. So I bounced around a few different places and then tried to take a break from it. Went to Whole Foods for a little bit, and I loved working at Whole Foods, because it was a lot of people, like-minded people.
Yeah,
we all care about the environment, sustainability, and a lot of people love good beer, and there are a lot of home brewers. So we would all share beer with each other, and beer was in my department, so I got to choose like a lot of stuff we brought in.
Cool.
So that was a lot of fun. Did that for a couple of years, and then I just kind of missed the restaurant chaos. So went back to it, but started working with a consultant and learned a lot about the back end of opening restaurants. And so kind of followed him around a little bit. Turned out he wasn't a very good dude. And so a lot of drama. He owes a lot of people money. He owes me money, but we're just going to not worry about that anymore.
Sometimes you got to cut your losses and move on.
Yeah, it was a really good experience. And then after that, went on my own and I helped this little small pizza place up in Camas, Summit and Pizza. They're like,
So yeah,
like 200-plus-year-old hotel. Like I lived above it.
Yep. I spent, how long was that? Probably like 4 months living in Oakley.
Oh,
and
nice.
like, cause I mean, when you're up in Oakley, like it's beautiful. Like that whole area is gorgeous, amazing. But if you need to get anywhere, pain in the ass.
Oh yeah.
And so I would always be like, it's the end of the day. I've done so much, maybe Friday or Saturday weekend. I just want food. And there's only so many restaurants that are out because you have that, like, unless I want to go just like Ken's Cash and grab like a bunch of random snacks. But there was always Summit Pizza. And I knew I just went straight down the road for like 2 miles, get my pizza and come. And it was good pizza too.
That was great.
Yeah.
So I got to drive up there for a little bit and kind of, it was fun. It was, a lot of my career in corporate restaurants was going and taking over restaurants that were just not really well run and kind of flipping them, turn them around, make them successful, and then kind of go on to the next thing. So, these guys were established. I think they'd been open since the 80s and were ready to open something new. So it's cool. So I got to help design their new store and get them set up. And I was planning to stick around and open more stores for them. But
did you feel like you enjoyed more of like that opening and getting things started side, or did you just love the humdrum of operating a restaurant, just kind of the chaos that goes along with it?
The opening was really fun because I did a lot of that with the corporate stuff. And, I got to do that a little bit with the consultant, just, help design and set up restaurants. And I really enjoyed that. You just kind of, with corporate restaurants, you just kind of get bored doing the day-to-day stuff because it's like anything extra I'm doing here is just supporting some corporation and it's not really doing me any good. So, so I got fired a lot from my corporate jobs. So, they want you to work 50 hours. And I'm like, I create successful stores and a good team environment and people love the jobs and we hit all our numbers and people are like, why aren't you working 50 hours? I'm like, I don't need to.
Yeah. Everything's happening the way it should. Like, I'm not going to be here for the sake of being here.
No. So I'm like, so I went to college then. I didn't start at the U until I was 28. And because I was kind of had it cushioned some of my restaurants I was running and like ran a good operation. So
if you don't need it, why go spend money to make money when you're already making money and without spending money?
Yeah. So I'm like, I think I'm going to go to college now.
Which is like, I think more people should take that into account. Like I was talking to someone semi-recently and they're like, oh, I like took to, like, no, it was actually one of my friends. She has a daughter that, it was the typical kid of like, oh, when I graduate, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to do my own thing, blah, blah, blah. You can't keep me. She's like, all right, whatever, cool. Like graduate from high school. If you want to live here, $500 a month in rent. Unless you want to go to school, then we'll cover your rent. Choice is yours. She's like, no, screw you. I'm moving out of here. So ends up moving in with like 3 or 4 of her friends in a 2-bedroom apartment. And they're all working. I think she was working at Costco, which is like pretty good side of things. And she kind of looked at just like the trajectory of her life and like what I was looking at. And she's like, hey, Mom, I'm going to come move in and go back to school. It's like, okay, cool. Like, because like I always like when people, any time in life where you can voluntarily make a decision instead of someone saying, here's the next step, or go do this, or go do that. It makes it more impactful. It makes it more meaningful. You're going to try so much more because you actually care about it compared to, here's the next thing that like I have to do that I don't want to do.
This is just what you do.
Yeah.
This is what you do with your life. No, there's no way I could have done well in college when like right out of high school. Like
I'm surprised I made it work. Knowing myself now is like, maybe to go do something else for a minute, come back to it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was ready. When I was 20, I'm like, all right, let's check this out. And I did great. I loved it.
Yep.
I'm like, I wouldn't have loved it before. No.
You got to appreciate it for what it's worth. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time. We'll find like a fine wine.
Yeah, definitely.
So you go to school. What did that play in your decision-making process? Were you still just like, hey, I kind of want to use this to be more on this food and bev and restaurant side, or did you have different plans from there?
Kind of my goal has always been to own my own business. My parents owned their own business and I always told them they owned a body shop, like paint and body shop. Cool. And so, I grew up working there a lot too, working on cars, and I love that. So I do as a hobby.
I was going to say, if anybody that follows you on Instagram knows that you enjoy cars.
Oh yeah. They're toys, they're fun for me. So but I grew up around that a lot and grew around my parents owning their own business and they had a couple, businesses going too, and so they're always busy. But I love that. Like, it was just really cool to see like they're in charge of their lives and what they were doing, and they worked a lot, but it was awesome. And I was like I want to can I buy this business from you? Like, can we like work something out here? And they're like, no, you don't want to do this shit. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm tired of working for other people. So that was off the plate. You know, I was pretty bummed about that. But going to the U, just wanted to go, just to go. You know, just, you know, I've gone to college, and, you know, I went into business management, entrepreneurship, and, you know, I learned some things, but a lot of it I had mostly learned on my, you know, on my journey through working on at restaurants and corporate stuff. You get so much training with corporate jobs, which is one bonus to it. But it was just a good experience.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun doing it. So, it was pretty easy for me at that point.
Yeah.
But
it's like nice because like if someone were to put me back in school, it'd be like, so I have like 4 classes, I have like 3 homework assignments, and I just got to be ready for tests. Like, I'm in. Like, are you kidding me? I used to complain about this. Like, compared to like what I'm expected to do at, I mean, any sort of job or any sort of thing that can like give you a living wage. Like, yeah, that sounds really nice. But then also gives you like that mental space to just be like, what do I want to do? What does life look like? What kind of business do I want to start? And understanding more of like the details of it. But then it's hard because like, I mean, everything you learn in school is such in a silo and like such a theory compared to like what you've been used to of operating and opening restaurants. Like that's the actuals and like the actual experience of doing it, which is never as simple as a classroom will let you make it seem to be.
right. Yeah. When I took over Whole Foods, one of my departments was prepared foods, and the previous manager had hired all these kids out of culinary school. Everybody wants to be a chef. And that's like, well, you guys got to clean. You guys got to make stuff to this recipe. You guys got to do dishes. Like, you guys got to do all this shit. And they're like, what? Everybody wants to be, you know, chef. I want to make this dish. And I'm like, culinary kids were not the ones to hire. So if you want to get in the culinary industry, go work at a restaurant first.
Yes. Go wash some dishes, go bust some tables, and then appreciate all of the things that build up to it. Because it's not just do the fun stuff and hand everything else to everybody else.
See if that's what you really want to do. And in fact, one of the restaurants we opened with a consultant, and this guy had a bunch of money, decided he wanted a fine dining restaurant, went to culinary school, and we got that thing open, and he couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle the pressure of the restaurant.
Yeah.
He's like, I've got millions of dollars opening these businesses. This would be easy. I'm like,
good luck.
Let
me know how it goes.
Yeah. So he's not running that restaurant anymore. Somebody else took over and
that makes sense.
It made it work. So,
well, because actually I'm going to go visit him this weekend. He lives in Portland in like Willamette Valley. He's been a chef his entire life for the most part. But also it's fun too. So they live in Willamette Valley and your response makes you know that you know what it is. I mean, it's wine country, tons of Pinots, tons of Chards.
And hops.
Yes. And so he'll always, him and his boyfriend are, wine enthusiasts through and through, but he also his restaurants and work has always purchased wine through it. So it's fun when we go taste. It's like, oh, come to this room. Here's the reserve bottles. Here's all of like just totally red carpet treatment, which is fun. But his nephew named Jonathan, he went to Oregon State and became an engineer, graduated. And then he got done with school. He's like, actually, I think I want to go work in a restaurant and be like Jeremy.
Nice.
And so sure enough, like goes and works. I mean, it's like a really nice restaurant in downtown Portland called Le Pigeon, but starts washing dishes and starts the hard thing, like the shitty part of it. But then now he's finally like up to sous chef and like actually cooking. And he's like, yeah, I like this a lot more than what I was doing.
That's fun. I mean, especially in the middle of chaos, a big rush, and you've got just a line of people and you're looking at your tickets and you're just like, wow, we're never getting out of this. This is our life now.
Yeah.
But then you see it to that end ticket, and it is the most rewarding thing. And it's done.
Yeah. Everybody can breathe. We're done.
Oh yeah, we did it. Like it's like a game, you know. It's like it's so fun.
Yeah. It's like, well, see you tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do it again. Like, you know, it's not for everybody.
No,
it takes a certain person to do it, and that's a lifestyle, you know. So that's fun talking to other service industry people. We try to plan meetings and stuff, and people are like, oh, that's a holiday. Well, we're still open. So, like,
doesn't matter. Yeah. What do you think people want to do when they're off?
Yeah.
They'll have a beer and a good meal with their friends. And guess what I do? I give them that beer and a good meal.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, talking to other industry people that are hanging out here today, it's like we're trying to plan like some party for somebody. And it's like, well, every day is a Friday for us. So what's the slowest day we can do this party? Let's do it Monday.
Yeah, that'll work for everybody.
Oh yeah.
So you go to the U, you have kind of this time to, take a break to be at school, which is the best part of school. But I mean, what happened after that? I mean, at what point were you like, all right, I think I know what I want to do for my own business, and it's going to be this?
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say it was high school is when I discovered craft beer. and Coronas too. I drink a lot of Coronas. And I just had this like idea, like, wow, I want to open my own brewery. And, when I was 28, about the time I started college, I started homebrewing too, and winemaking. Grow my own Chardonnay grapes at home, and growing up for a long time, used to make wine every year.
Wow.
And I just put them in beer, but
like, we're just gonna dump it all into here instead.
Yeah, and so just really got into it. I spent a lot of time just dialing in recipes, and it took over my whole basement. Ended up like ripping out all the carpet in my basement, putting epoxy floors in, stainless steel sinks, and extra sinks. And I had like 2-3 homebrew systems at one time. And I don't know if you saw that kegerator that's in that room next to the bar.
Yes,
but I think there's 8 taps on that thing. But that was in my basement.
Yes,
and I have friends that come in here and sit at the bar. They're like, "Is that the kegerator you had in your basement?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Like, yeah, it comes with me, obviously.
Yeah, so we brought that here. I still had a bunch of stuff, a bunch of beers and stuff left over when we first opened, and I told me, "Hey, try this stuff out." Like, and people are like, "Why don't you bring your homebrew system here and like let's start brewing?" So that's what we do now every Friday. You can try homebrew batches, pretty much, small batches from my brewers. So, but anyway,
but like, I guess during that time when you're starting, because again, like you have this whole period of, exploring from like the ripe old age of 18 till, let's say, 28 when you start school. I mean, was there any sort of beers you gravitated towards, or what was that learning process like? Because I can't imagine it was just success from the beginning.
We were so limited here with beer, and it was hard to get anything high point or anything like really interesting. We've had some good beer. We've got some great breweries that have been around for a while. They're pretty big now and pretty much all sold and no longer really local.
Yep.
But we've always had good beer here, but it's always been just kind of just simple, nothing really out there, nothing really too interesting. Occasionally some of our breweries did do that, some really interesting stuff, and then they stopped doing it. So I would travel around and drink beer everywhere I go. And I remember actually here, I was hanging out at a friend's house, and he had a friend that was in town from Oregon or Washington, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a full suspension, and this is 20-something years ago. It's 4%, and I'm like, this beer is so hoppy, it's so good. And I still love full suspensions. Great beer.
Classic.
But he's like, try this. Hands me a Red Hook ESB, and blew my fucking mind. I'm like, what is this? Beer tastes like this? Holy shit. So it like just elevated my palate, and I'm like, how do I get this beer? So I ended up going up to Oregon, going to Washington. It was near Seattle. So went to the brewery, checked it out, like just really kind of went after it. I'm like, how do I brew this? So I brewed a lot of that, brewed a lot of ESB at home. And, that was like my early 20s when that happened. And so I did all this discovery of all these beers. I'm like, fuck, nobody's brewing all the stuff I want to drink. I have to brew it myself.
If no one else is doing it, you're going to have to do it yourself.
Yeah. And luckily, a lot of people had that same idea. So now we've got a lot of great little local breweries all over Salt Lake, and, kind of spreading out all over Utah. And it's amazing. Now I'm like, if I can go, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and I love it. We have so much good beer here in Utah. So,
and it's so funny because it's like this, almost like it's so contradictory, because obviously Utah population, you can always assume half of people don't drink, and taboo around it all, and also weird liquor laws. But at the same time, breweries keep popping up, and they all keep doing like really, really well. And it's fun to see how much success there is, how much, because it was fun, like in the same way that you talk about Washington, like Seattle is where I really started to appreciate beer, because I really didn't start like drinking until college-ish. shout out Mormonism. But when I did, it was like, I mean, I was, again, Mormonism, I was like, just wanted anything sweet, nothing too bitter. So I'd be like, oh, let me get a hef, let me get a blue one, let me get a.
That's gateway beer.
It is the gateway beer, especially in Utah. If I wanted to open up a brewery and just get people in and be like, here, take this. You've never had this before? Great. Then just come closer and closer. But that was the first place. Like there was, I'll never forget this. There was one time, so I met this friend there via my partner at the time's coworker, and they're like, oh, you you both like to golf and you like similar things, like you guys should meet. And so we had this like play date coordinated, end up meeting him, and it was one of those like, oh, this is so fucking awkward, what are we doing? But then at the end, I'm like, damn it, you guys were right. And he's from Montana, went to the UW and had a bunch of friends from there. He just kind of like be like, hey, like we're gonna hang out, I know you don't have any friends, come hang out. And there was one time they're like, hey, it's game 3 of whatever, I think that would have been like, what, 2017? I think it was the year before. Anyway, so we go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and we just tell there's probably like 20 of us at this long table, and we're like, hey, just whenever you come back, just have 2 space dusts in your hand, and we'll figure it out from there.
Nice.
Needless to say, everybody pretty much like borderline blacked out that night because we just kept like chugging space dust like it was PBR. But that was the time I was like, oh, what is this? We're like, well, that's called an IPA, and like, don't drink too much. Anyway, you can imagine how it goes from there.
Probably.
Yeah. And then there's always like, because I mean, they have a liquor store here. I mean, and Elysian's an amazing brewery. And so like, I'll always take a picture of it and send it to those friends and be like, remember that one time? And everybody's like, how could we forget? So yeah, so I mean, Washington's another place that I explored and understood and appreciated beer and coffee. But so I love that you have this experience of like, oh, well, there's beer I want. I can't have it. I'm going to make it. And it'd be fun to do this. But I mean, at what point did you bridge those two together and we're like, you know what? Time to do it myself on a bigger scale, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, it always been kind of on the back of my mind. I'm like, someday I'm going to do my own thing. And, then my son was born kind of my mid 30s, and I'm just like, I can't keep working for other people. The corporate thing is just boring to me. And there's no like real vision there. They're not really doing anything to make the world better. They're just trying to make money. And, and I struggled with that. And then, I'm working for somebody else on his, the consultant I worked for, he was a fraud. And it's like, oh, this sucks working for this guy. Like, so I was just like, I have to open my own business. And, I got a poker game of friends I've been going to for 15 years or something.
Cool.
And I'd always bring my home brew, and people are like, finally one of my friends is like, dude, you need to open your own brewery. You need to do this. And he kind of like started pushing me, and he's like, whatever you need help with. Cause he had opened his own business doing sushi. He had like a sushi catering business for a little while. And so he kind of knew like getting things started. And so he helped me. He's like, let me help you out. And so he kind of pushed me to get started. And so I started getting things going, got the LLC going. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to start looking at properties. And, and a couple of my friends, they backed me. They're like, cool, we'll pitch in with you and let's do this. Let's make it happen.
Oh, yeah.
So start shopping around, and I was down on State. There's this place across the street from Epic Brewing. This building's changed hands so many times over the years, and we were looking at that. I'm like, we might be able to make this work, but like, going into the industry, I don't want to be an asshole or anything to other breweries and try to take anything from them. So, because here in Utah, we all need each other. We all need all the breweries.
Oh yeah. And like, that's the fun thing that's been, cause not only do I see how many people have worked together at so many different places, but then hearing how much everybody's willing to help each other. Oh. And cause it's a community. And then and talking with other people in other places about it, it's like, people don't talk to each other. People don't want to help each other. But here, it's very different. Oh, yeah. So I love that there's like this support network of people that are willing to drop whatever they're doing. Like, oh, your so-and-so's broken, or your thing. Like, I'll be there in 5 minutes and let's figure this out together.
Oh, yeah. We all need each other. We're all very different too. Like, I don't want to drink just my beer. I love my beer, but I also like to drink Fisher's beer, TF's beer, Kita's. Like, I love going there and see my friends. I'm friends with the brewers and owners, and it's, it's a totally different thing with business. So, and especially in this market, like there's camaraderie in other beer markets around the country, but nothing like Utah's. So it's been awesome. It's been an awesome thing to be a part of. And, and we even sell a ton of different breweries or beers.
Yeah.
High Point, we don't have a canning line yet. We're working on that, but with our silly draft laws, we're limited to 5%. So people want strong beers, like we bring them in because there's so many good ones around. So, but back to originally looking at that location down on State Street, we looked at a few, and that one was kind of the one that were like rent was cheap and kind of worked out for what we were looking for. And we were opening a kitchen was a lot of money. It's a lot of work, and I was like, we're just gonna go tap room, food trucks, keep it real simple. I'm gonna call the owner Epic to ask if it was cool. I'm like, cool for over here? Like, I just don't want any trouble with other breweries. And he's like, well, that Annex and Sugar House, we're gonna sell it. So I'd kind of forgotten about this place. They opened, and it was good. Food was good and whatever, but just I didn't really remember it. Just it never came back. And come to find out, it had been like 5 iterations over 5 years, and nobody could really figure out the formula here. So everybody talked about the curse. There was a curse here and all this stuff, and so he's like, yeah, we're gonna sell that. And I'm like, oh shit, like this just got real. Like,
yeah, you're like, and in your head you're like, I know exactly where that is. Feels like, because I mean, again, if like knowing way less than you do about everything that you do, you put the State Street property and this property head to head. I'm like, yeah, like of course this.
I'm like, yeah, Sugar House is like, that's my dream, is to have a brew pub in Sugar House, but I didn't think that was ever going to happen. Yeah. Where's like the money that would have to go into that, and trying to find the right property. So luckily these guys did the groundwork for me and didn't really want to keep doing it. So it worked out for me. Totally. So I came in and had, it was a fine dining Italian restaurant at the time. And so I came in here and had dinner, checked out the space, and I'm like, all right, guess I'm opening a restaurant too. So let's do it. So my friends weren't too keen on the restaurant part. I'm like, well, it's my background. So
yeah,
let's do it.
I will show you that I can make this work.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we went for it. And then, but there was a catch. Like, if we wanted the bar license, we had 6 weeks to open.
Of course, there's some sort of wrench and everything that you have to.
Oh yeah. So it's like, do we go restaurant license? And just, restaurant licenses are so complicated, especially for a brewery. You guys got to get food, kids are in here, and it's just like, you can't stand up with your beer. Like, I'm like, I don't want a restaurant license. We want to be a bar. We want it to be fun and welcoming. We want to be able to walk around with your beer and not have to order food if you don't want to.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went for it. I'm like, challenge accepted. Let's go. And, it was real nice because Epic's head brewer came down, did a brew day with me and kind of showed me the system. So
because it sounds like they kind of just like, all right, we'll leave it here.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah. You can buy this property from us, and here you go. And they're just kind of like, they've offered that to a couple other restaurants that didn't make it through here. So they're just kind of like, yeah, whatever, like, give it a shot. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And, so I was brewing on that system, and then I working on the kitchen. Like, I came up with the initial menu and it's cooking I'd brew all day, I'd come cook all night. Damn. And then my buddy helped hire the bar staff and kind of helped get that going. But I was still bartending too. So I was doing all the things. And we got open in 6 weeks, and we still didn't have our food quite where I wanted it. So I was just giving it away. I'd come up to the bar, like, what do you guys want to try? Like,
hey, what do you need?
Give me some feedback.
Yeah.
Like, and it was a hit. People loved it. And, and then it stuck. So I was finally got a badass kitchen team, and they were able to take over, and he kind of I give my team autonomy. So it's like, hey, I used to have these Thai wings on the menu. They're super high prep and really just a lot of work, and they were so good. But my team was just like, these are so hard to make. Can we like simplify or like and come up with other flavors? And so I kind of let my team kind of formulate their own recipes and try some other stuff that ended up working really well. So it's cool. It's been a big team effort in here, and the past few years I've been able to step away from the brew house, which I miss. I miss brewing beer. But I've got some awesome brewers now that take care of everything.
Cool.
Got an awesome kitchen team, and I bartended for a little bit, and now I'll pour a beer every once in a while when I'm back there. But we've grown so much, and now we've got some really nice cocktails and everything. I don't know how to make what they're making back there.
Like, you guys know how to do it better than I do. I've got other things to do.
Yeah, I come up to the register. A guest walks up. I'm going to help them, of course. And I'm sitting there like I'm a new kid. I'm like, where's this button? Like,
they just see you walk around by yourself and start pushing. They're like, "Are you sure you work here?" You're like, "Yeah, I own the place, but I just can't remember how the."
Yeah, I don't do this very often. That's what I tell them. Like, I don't do this very often. Sorry, but I'm not going to leave anybody hanging.
Totally, and that's one thing I love about Hopkins is, like, especially talking with you and Maddie and other people, is it's kind of become this community center point here. Which, I mean, a lot of it's your own intentionality, but then also like the programming that you have of like within the jazz nights and the small batch Fridays. It's been fun to see how many people have gravitated towards that and just kind of made it part of their own programming. And even you, I mean, I can't remember who was telling me a story, but you kind of feel like this like ringleader of kind of like these sugar house businesses and everybody that comes together.
Yeah. So everybody kind of looks to me like, what's Chad doing over there? And like, so it's cool. We're all friends. We all like to help each other out and promote each other's businesses. And, we want everybody to be successful around here. We got some awesome small businesses around here.
Totally.
So,
I mean, what kind of beers, is Hopkins most known for? Where do you see kind of the new batches coming through or new beers that you want to work on?
We're construction with the road has slowed Sugar House down in the past couple of years. So, I mean, we're still doing well, but we're not selling out of beer like we used to. Like, we used to just have to bring in guest tasks because we were just out. And so we've got some time now. So I have my brewer working on some lagers, because lagers take at least a month to condition and really hit their peak where they're supposed to taste like. And so I'm like, make some lagers. Like, let's go. So we're still making, some sours and fruited IPAs and stuff like that, that people really like to drink. But, as brewers, we like our lagers. So I think we have like 4 on right now. So, but we were able to give them the time to condition and, but now we're, for the last 2 anniversaries we did, we collabed with other breweries, for our 5-year anniversary. We collaborated with, Bewilder. We brewed a classic West Coast IPA like I wanted. And then this last year for our 6th year, we did a rye IPA with Fisher, brewed it over there, and they canned it. And, so those 2 beers are all homebrew recipes of mine. And, send it to the brewers like, yeah, cool, let's do it. Like, yeah. So we really want to get into canning. We really want that creative freedom. It's just, that's really difficult with, I got to hit 5%. So it's, it's hard for me to call some beers IPA when it's not really an IPA.
Yeah. I always have to warn people in town. They're like, "Oh, get that on draft." Like, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me warn you before this happens. It's going to be a light IPA. You're going to get half the flavor and the same cost. Like, get something in a can. Like, what? Like, I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense, but just do it.
Yeah. It's essentially a pillow. So.
Yeah. Especially it's so awesome that you've been able to hire the right people. And a lot of those have been people that you've met along the way, but then also just like freeing them up. Like the kitchen staff, you're like, "Hey, this is too hard to make, takes too much time." Like, cool, give me an alternative and we'll do that. And similarly with your brewers, like, "Hey, like, this sounds fun, let's do that." But like, it's also hard when, again, like you have this like 5% limit on anything you can do. And so being able to be like, all right, we're going to take that away now. And now you can make even more fun things.
Right.
So just continuing to free people up to be their own creative genius. But then it's also got to be fun to see how, some of your homebrew recipes have become, these now collaborations with these big, like other brewers around here, but also just to see how many people like enjoy these things that you've been making forever and come back for more.
Oh yeah, that's great. And then some of my friends come in and like, oh, I remember this beer when you were brewing it back home, and that's always really fun. So, but yeah, and then with our bar too, we've got some awesome cocktails. We've got a great cocktail program and a ton of local distilleries. So we use local as much as possible, and give my bartenders creative freedom to make whatever kind of cocktails they want to put on the menu. And so it's a big team here. What do we want to do? What do you guys want to try? And it's nice coming from the corporate world. Like, you make this, like
here's the recipe, here's the rules, here's the SOP, like here's everything you have to do step by step. And then instead be like, I'm not gonna be that person, but what do you guys feel like doing? Like, yeah, I kind of like this, but great, go do it, make it work.
We still keep the consistency in our current recipes and what we're making, but then it's like somebody's like, can we try this? Yeah, let's do it. Can we bring this in? Yeah, let's try it out. Like, why not? Yeah.
If you're not innovating, you're dying, and might as well work with everybody that sees and interacts with people every day, compared to you coming in as this like overlord twirling his mustache saying, no, but this will make us more money and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, those never do well. Anybody who comes to me is like, well, I have this idea for this business that could make money. I'm like, are you passionate about it? Like, is this something you like to do? They're like, well, no, but it could make money. I'm like, you're probably going to hate it, and it's more likely to fail than if it's something you actually want to do and love to do. Like, that will, like, everybody feels passion. Everybody feels that authenticity behind it. And I feel like this is a good dedication to that, because it's not like you just decided, oh, there's an opportunity to make a brewery, I'm going to go do that. You're like, I've been doing this for decades, and now I finally have trusted myself to do it on my own.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just, I didn't do this to make money. Like, and being a restaurant, we don't make a ton of money anyway. So I love what I'm doing. That's a lot of fun, and my team's happy. I take good care of them, and you just come in here and it's a good time. My team's always happy to be here. Then other industry people are here. Like,
I think that's like when you like know that you've done something great is like when people who are in it come here to like spend their time. Like one of my favorite signs of a good dive bar is the waiters, servers, whoever are off, and then they just like grab a seat and sit at the bar and start hanging out. And so I feel like it's similar to that. People are like, oh yeah, I make beer. Yeah, I work at a restaurant, but like we're going to Hopkins to enjoy my time off.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you see my team come in on their days off, come hang out. I'm like, all right, I'm doing something.
Yeah, you're doing something right. You don't hate me. Good. Good. But I mean, thinking about like next steps for Hopkins, I mean, obviously you mentioned canning and getting some higher IPA beer, but then also being able to, I mean, sell things outside of here more. I mean, outside of that, what are some of the plans you have for Hopkins?
Yeah, that's the next big step, is get a canning line, open up that creative freedom, kind of want to have a grab and go cooler up front. People want to come in and take some stuff to go and just have it ready to go. Like this Pico Rico we just drank. I would love to have that canned, be able to take that home. But I don't want to get into distribution really. That's kind of loses its touch, its value, what it means to me. Like, I don't want it sitting on the shelf warm at the DABS, or you miss that interaction. And so we'll send some stuff out to beer bars and like Slackwater's great.
Yeah,
because they train their team and people know their beer's there, and that's why I want my beer to go, if it has to be sold from outside of here. But we'll try to do as much as we can from inside here.
Yeah, well, you can trust your baby to only so many people.
Yeah,
and because I mean, like distribution is like a whole nother business and pain point, and I mean, I wouldn't want to do that too. But then also, I mean, you look at all the people, I mean, the brewers in Salt Lake that have gotten big enough that they kind of lost their soul, and then that's usually that first step towards that. And then you get so big that all of a sudden you are that corporate guy now. You're like, oh, I lost. I became the thing I set out to conquer.
Yeah, and we don't want to go there. I've had a lot of people, real estate people, and landlords reach out to me like, come check out this property. We'd love for you to build something here, like, and we'll invest all this money into making what you need it to be to put your brew house in. And people really want me to open chains, and I'm like, it's not what I wanted.
Done this before. No, thank you.
No, like, it will never be as good as this. So, and I can't be at all places at the same time. And what's really important to something like this is owner presence. Like, I got to be here. mean, I don't have to be, but I should be here.
Yeah.
I like being here.
Yeah.
So,
which is a good sign. Like if you had once found yourself at a place you're like, oh, I don't really like this anymore, like then don't.
yeah.
But it is a good sign you're doing the right thing. You're like, oh, I like being here. I like being present. I like showing people beer. I like handing people food if they want to try something new, or just, I mean, because if you're not here, you don't know what the feel is like, what the customers are like, what people do want.
Right.
And then you can just try to make guesses, make judgment calls, but until you're in the middle of it all, then you're just kind of outside of it.
Yeah. That's just, I don't know, you get so disconnected from your own business. Like, I've seen it happen to other people. That's like, and how their team portrays them. And it's, I never wanted to be like that.
No.
So, deal. And I think one thing that is really cool that we do here is really focus on local. I like to say we're hyper local. Everything from the food to the ingredients in our beer is grown locally as much as possible.
What are some of your biggest suppliers that you use on everything?
So for our beer, it's mostly grown up near Logan, and Solstice Malt, James is his name. He opened his own malt house pretty close to the airport.
Wow.
And he picks up grain from all over Utah and malts it himself and delivers it. And so it's just awesome. And then you take that same grain and you take it to, after you've brewed with the grain, you take that same grain and take it to the farmer, and they feed their cattle or whatever with it. And some places, there's a brewery that just opened up in Logan. He's getting his grain from this farmer, and then after it's spent, takes it back to the same farmer, and like
just circle of life.
Oh yeah,
because I think this beer, I think the malt we got from this is actually from that. Anyway, that's funny.
Yeah, so we use a lot of little local companies for our stuff. Luckily, there's some big ones that help do a lot of stuff, like Nicholas and Co. is where we get most of our food from, and they're local, and so they have a lot of local little businesses. But we use a lot of different little bakeries for each kind of specific thing we want to get for our breads. And then we use a lot of Caputo's has like a business that brings in a lot of different stuff too.
Yes,
we use them a lot. But for me, it's so important to bring in local, sustainable stuff. Like our burger, it's grass fed. It's the cows are raised here in Utah, and it's good. It's better on the environment. And then when you have humane raised meat, it tastes better too.
Yep.
So
you can't make good food without good ingredients. You can't make good beer without good ingredients. And usually the closer it is, and especially when you know the person and you know what they're doing to create whatever ingredients it might be, that goes better than, where did this come from? Who made this?
Yeah.
How is it? What's in it? What's not in it?
Uh-huh.
There's a whole level of trust that starts to disappear.
Oh,
and also, like, another detail is, like, the art on your wall always changes because it's always local artists that, want to promote their own work that you've given that space for. So it's like, not only is it just in the food, but it's, everything from like I mentioned, like the jazz nights and all the programming that you put on to, everything hanging from the walls is local things.
Oh yeah. And we don't, we change that out once a month. We have a whole bunch of artists that come in and set up, and we don't take any commission for it. It's just like, hey, it's cool to have a place to show your stuff off, and if you sell some, great. Like, very cool. So yeah, we love supporting the artists, the music. We have a ton of local music here, 3 to 4 days a week. So there's always something going on here.
So yeah, there's always a reason to come to Hopkins.
Oh yeah.
Whether if it's even just the beer and the food alone, awesome. But then also if you need a reason to listen to some music or have some sort of event, also great to have here. Because like I said in the beginning, like I one thing I love about Hopkins is it's like such a either like double threat or even triple threat, because you have, great beer, check. You have your own food in your own kitchen you have control over, that's amazing, check. Patio if you want to go outside. Also a lot of great events. It's hard to find a weak point here.
Yeah.
It's a good place to have.
Yeah. We have something going every day. So
never boring.
No.
Well, I want to wrap up with the 2 questions I always ask everybody at the end of each episode. Number 1, if you could have someone on the Small Lake City podcast and hear more about their story, who would you want to hear from?
Oh, my one of my best friends is David Tastemasters. He does a podcast, and his podcast is focused on a lot of brewers and distillers and he's a lot of fun to talk to. I always love hearing podcasters interview podcasters because it can be really fun.
Yes.
And so he's good. He's kind of changing his whole dynamic on how he's doing things. But he's also the head brewer at Ketos. So, yeah, we're total beer nerds and just love our community. So, but he's kind of a big deal at the brewing community, and I think he'd be a lot of fun to have on the show.
Oh yeah, because I mean, it's fun to talk about people like their specific beer, but be like, all right, let's look at the whole landscape. What, like, especially for someone who, I mean, knows the industry here super well and knows beer super well, to be like, what should I know, or what do I not know that I should know? So no, definitely reach out to him. It sounds like because I think I've talked about him before, but fascinating dude. And also just Ketos in general has been another great brewery that's come through in the past 5 or 6 years and really, I mean, made a big impact and made some really cool beer too.
Yeah, David's done some cool stuff over there lately. So
cool. And then lastly, if people want to find out more about Hopkins or see programming, where's the best place to find information?
I'd say our Instagram. I do our social media, so I try to post on there daily and just post as much information as possible. We've got our calendar and we've got all our events on there.
Deal. Then come by. What's the specific address? I know it's on 21st South and something.
It's 1048 East, 2100 South. Got a big spiky ball on the top of the building from the 50s. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's an iconic location. I mean, even the basement has signs of the furniture store that used to be here and all of the previous things. But come by, grab some food, have some beer.
We got a big parking lot in the back too. So
yes, there's parking spaces to have. So you don't have to worry about construction that somehow never ends, but might end one day. I don't know.
Should be done by September, they say. So we'll see.
So that'll probably mean it's like done at like 2027. But I mean, hopefully it's done in September for everybody and your sake too.
Yeah, all of us businesses are around here. We're ready. Like, all right, let's be done here.
Especially like how many years longer it's gone than probably. Anyway, I could talk about traffic and construction in Utah in general, but
it's nuts.
No, Chad, this has been great. Thank you so much for creating the space. It's awesome. It's well welcomed, but keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, I'll keep coming around.
Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me on.
No, thank you.
Right on.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Salt Lake City Podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, review, subscribe, and share this episode with your friends. And we'll catch you next week. We'll see you there.